Good morning, everyone. Okay, two things before I forget. Of course, live stream at 3 o'clock, local 2000 Zulu. So, I want to thank you guys for coming up with a ton of great ideas of stuff to talk about today. No shortage. And, I think I'm just going to hold on to this. Have you guys ever noticed that you'll watch a TV show or a movie or something, and then you get motivated to make something? Last night, I rejoined a website that I used to be a member of, and it had lapsed. Anyway, it's BillWhittle.com, and he does a lot of political stuff, which I know we don't do here, and I'm not going to get into that. But he also does a lot of history stuff. But he's kind of the opposite. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the history guy, Lance Geiger. Well, I'd like to chat with sometime if I get a chance. But I've been trying to get him to do a history of the Jeep, the Army Jeep. But anyway, so Whittle did a 4-part series about an hour each called Apollo, What We Saw. Because he's only a couple of years older than I am, and like me, he grew up in the Apollo era, except he actually had a closer affiliation with it than I did, which you can go watch this probably on YouTube. But I know the third episode is, for some reason, it was removed from his website. Anyway, he goes through all the rockets and everything. They got me almost. I still have that man in space with the 5 rockets, and one thing I don't have on display anywhere is a Saturn 1B, and one of them's in the kit. And I'm like, man, I need to go ahead and make that, but with so many kits on deck and everything, I don't want to turn it to work. But now I'm all juiced up and motivated for it. And you ever notice that you're like, oh, I'm gonna make this, and this, and then something motivates you. But you know what? Everything's on hold. I want to make this right now. And by the way, speaking of the Twin Otter, which I got started on last night, it's really pretty straightforward kit. Typical Matchbox. Comes in 4 different colors. They have gray, white, and black parts trees. But the overall, the kit's pretty no big deal. No strip. But the one little thing is, and I'll see if I can't put a picture up on the bottom of the wings. There are the hinges for the flaps and the ailerons that stick down, and they're teeny tiny. There's 12 of them, 6 on each wing, and I managed to get them all on without losing any of them, which through extreme caution. So you see, when you're careful, you don't feed the carpet monster, because those are carpet monster kibbles and bits just waiting to be served up. But they don't have. They have a little area you can see where it's marked off where it's supposed to go, but they don't have any actual alignment pins or anything. They just sit on top. But the area is curved and the bottom's flat, and they're too small to really manipulate. At least for me, to manipulate and get down there and carve or anything. But as a result, you wind up putting a flat surface on a curved surface, and they're so tiny that a little that thick to me a glue, and they stay in place fine. But it was still like, oh, this is just a potential for disaster. That's the only real gotcha about the kit. And I put a 45 slug in the nose also to make sure it stays on its nose, because I'm pretty sure it's going to be tail heavy. One of the other things that's kind of cool is that the landing gear and the fairing, the main gear and the fairing on the Golden Knight's plane, the fuselage is white, the wings are black with yellow tips, the tail is black, and the landing gear fairing and landing gear are black. And it just so happens that the landing gear and fairing on this kit are both molded in black plastic. So whether I repaint them or not, at least it'll be easy to paint them and then put them on, or should be easy to paint them and then put them on. So it'll save me some taping and some aggravation there. So that's kind of cool. And anyway, the only thing I'm not looking forward to on that Saturn 1B is you got to build 8 engines for it, because the Saturn 1B is the shorter one that basically stood up on 8 H1 engines clustered together. What was the NASA guys used to jokingly call it, Cluster's Last Stand? And they're essentially glorified Redstones. But they're reliable. And that's about all I'm going to have for this morning, because we have the live stream at 3 o'clock again, 2000 Zulu, 3 o'clock East Coast, 2 o'clock Central, 1 o'clock Mountain, noontime on Pacific. And if you guys can make it, that's great. And if not, no sweat. This is all in good fun. This is going to be a little bit less structured. And although I do have a ton of great things to talk about and a few pictures, but well, that's about it. I'm going to finish my coffee, and the princess is up there in her perch sleeping. I do feel better today. I was feeling puny yesterday, but I feel a lot better today. And somebody mentioned it might be the change in the weather. We've had some fairly grungy weather, although it's looking a lot better today. It could be it. I guess I'm getting that age where I can tell what tomorrow's weather's going to be by how my joints feel. Yay! And we might talk about this later, but I'm just curious. Did you guys ever have cap guns with the red roll caps? You know, the red roll of the little. You put them in the cap gun, and they would cycle through as you pulled the trigger, and pop, 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 pop. And did you ever go out and hit them with a hammer, or maybe see if you could hit the whole roll? Watching that thing on Apollo made me think about that, and I was like, I think our generation, I think Whittle was right, our generation really were all trying to win the Darwin Award. But he just brought up why today one reason kids have so much trouble we went to the moon in the 60s is the way they're raised. You know, they ride bicycles with knee pads and helmets. They, you know, a lot of them don't play sports. They just don't do the things, the crazy stuff we did. I doubt any of them ever drank out of a garden hose. So, or while I'm running the deep south, God forbid, 4 or 5 kids gone to school in the back of a pickup truck. I wouldn't have traded my childhood for anything. And then, of course, pedal your bicycle downtown. Somebody made a mention yesterday, and just leave your bicycle in front of the store, go in, buy your model, pedal. Or sometimes I pedaled, sometimes I walked. And I think when I went to the movie theater, I think I walked. I don't think I usually took my bike, because even I didn't think it was a good idea to leave the bicycle outside for 2 hours. And when I think about all the movies I went and saw, and of course, when you're little, the movies are great, you know, and if you could buy a model of something made a movie, I understand why so many guys bought movie creatures. But as I mentioned, as Graham mentions in the book, and I think I had mentioned in the video on Aurora, was that none of those creature kits would have been made, because if you look at them, they're all older properties from the 30s to the 60s, Frankenstein up through you know, Creature in the Black Lagoon and stuff. Well, 30s to the 50s, I guess. But none of those would have been made if it hadn't been for syndication on television. Because another entire generation of kids were introduced to the classics, you know, through like the Sunday afternoon creature features and things like that. And that's why and the properties were cheap, because they weren't considered, you know, current anymore. That's funny how that works. If you have a current property that's doing well, usually you have to pay through the nose to get the toy rights, but get something that's out of date. But not always. There have been ones like the Major Matt Mason series that couldn't come to terms on the money. And so I guess they've learned that even old toys can have value, but oh, they could probably get something like Billy Blastoff pretty cheap, or was that other one? It was Astro Boy or something. I forget the name, with the balloon with the fan. But you learned about the Kalanda effect. So that's where a moving medium tends to adhere to a curved surface. Okay, guys. Well, that's all for now. We'll see you later, and hope to see you at the live stream. And if not, you guys have a great day. Model on.